All right, guys, today I'm going to show you how to use student sheet 4. And just remember that every gram of fat has 9 calories, every gram of carbohydrate has 4 calories, and every gram of protein also has 4 calories. So I'm going to try to use the pen in Jamboard to show you this. So please don't make fun of my beautiful moused handwriting. But if we look at the food label first, it's a little bit hard to see in the Screencastify, but you also have the copy, so you can use yours. We're going to look at the food label, and then here is the math sheet for it. And you're going to be using your own food labels, of course, but I wanted to show you how to specifically do the math portion of it, and then, of course, do the graphing. And so for this food label, if we have 1 gram of fat, we multiply that by 9, and we get 9. For the carbohydrates, we have 20 carbs, and we're going to multiply that by 4. We get 80. And then for the protein, we have 2 grams. 2 grams of protein, and multiply that by 4 as well, because both carbs and both protein are multiplied by 4 always. And so that gives us 8. The total here is going to be 97 calories. So now we have all of our calories. 9 calories from fat, we have 80 calories from carbohydrates, and we have 8 calories from protein, totaling 97. The total calories in the package is 100. So up here, barely, you can see total calories are 100. And so we're close. We know we're close because this number matches total calories. Now we have to find the percents, and this is where people start getting confused and stressed out, and it's completely okay because you don't need to feel that way. So now we have to now we have to divide each of the totals. You can barely see these little dots. By the total calories. So 9 divided by 97. Divided by 97, divided by 97. And we're going to get percent decimals. And so there are 2 things that you can do. Either you can move the decimal place, or you can multiply by 100. I always tell people that by 9th grade, you should know how to multiply decimal places, but if you get confused, then just use multiplication and multiply by 100. And so I hope you can see the calculator on my screen. If not, then that's okay. But so we're going to take 9 divided by 97, and we're going to get 92 because we're going to move it 2 places. So 1, 2. So we get 9. I guess we could round up 2 because this is a 7. So we're going to round to 3. So we have 9.3. Let's go to the next sheet. So now we have 9.3%. And then the next one is 80 divided by 97. Gives us 80.824. This is not above 5, so we don't have to round the 2 to 3. And so we have 82.5. I lied to you. We're moving 2. 1, 2. This is a 7, so we'll move this to a 5. So that one is 82.5. And then the last one, we're going to do 8 divided by 97, which is going to give us 8.2. And again, if you don't want to move the decimal place over 2, 1, 2, you can always just multiply by 100. So times 100 gives us the same thing, 8.2. And now you don't have to move any decimal places. So it's up to you. Either divide and move decimal places, or divide and then multiply by 100. All right, once you have these numbers, these are the percents of each. So we have 9.3%. fat. We have 82.5% carbs. And then we have 8.2% protein. So like we talked about yesterday in class, if I were to ask you, what is this corn food label mostly made out of? You would tell me carbohydrates, because carbohydrates has the highest percent. And then we would talk about what kind of carbohydrates those are. Are they complex or simple? And what does that mean? Does that mean sugar or not? And then how do we know? The last part of this is the graphing, which is the very scary part that everybody does wrong the first time, but we don't have to do it wrong. So I'm going to make my cool graph. Man, that's a cool graph. We're going to start at 0% down here. And I think I can even use different colors. So and we can always start fat, carbohydrates, protein. So for the fat, we have, to go back to our percents to look, for the fat, we have 9.3%. And so we're going to go, let's say, like here. This is fat, and this is 9.3%. And the next number is 8.2% or 8.25. We're going to use red for that. Now, here's the tricky part. We never start back at 0. We're always going to start at the most recent line. So if we have 9.3% as fat, we're starting at 9.3%. And then we're going to add 82.5% to make our carbs. And this is why everybody messes this part up, is because they always want to start back at 0, but we don't have to. We always start at the last percent line. So 8.3, we're going to add 82.5%. That's going to give us our carbs category. And then the last part of it would just be filling in the last percent. And I don't have purple on Jamboard, but I'll just use this cool blue color. And this is protein. And I'll just write a P for protein. And our protein number is 8.2. All right, guys. So while my stuff is super beautiful, I hope that this helps you understand that these numbers are always the same. 9, 4, and 4 are always the same. So you take your fat, multiply by 9. Take your carbs, multiply by 4. Take your protein, multiply by 4. You get your numbers. That gives you your total calories. Take your numbers, divide by total calories. That gives you your percent. Remember, you can either move decimal place 2 spots to the right, or you can just take the number that you get and multiply by 100, which will still give you the percent. It's just like one less step. So here we have our fat, carbs, and protein. And then lastly, we have to graph. Remember, we start at 0, but everything after our first percent line, you just add. So here's our fat, we add our carbs, then we add our protein. This should equal about 100%. Remember what I said though, that food industries can be off 10%, give or take. So 10% below or 10% over, because they're not really regulated that strongly. And so they don't have to be completely accurate. And so if your number is like 98% or 101%, it's just because the food label is slightly inaccurate, but your math still can be correct. All right. If you have any questions or need help with this, please reach out and ask. These math and graphing standards are super important. And if you need more help with them, just let me know. Thanks. Have a great day.